Turn up your radio. It's time for DeLorean Talk with your host, Dave Tavers.
Hi, and thanks for listening to DeLorean Talk. This is episode number 11. I'm glad that you tuned back in. I'm looking forward to keeping these going, so if anybody wants to set up a time, please send a message to comments@DeLoreanTalk.com, and I'd love to hear your story. I know other people would too. If you're a longtime owner or a new owner, I think all the stories are interesting, and that's kind of the point of this podcast. So today, I am excited to have somebody on the show that I met actually almost a year ago in Las Vegas at DeLorean Weekend. We ended up talking during the car show at the Plaza Hotel and clicked and ended up keeping in touch quite a bit. And this is Jay Shetlin from South Jordan, Utah. Hi, Jay.
Hi there. Good to chat again.
Thanks for taking the time to join the show.
My pleasure.
So yeah, we met at DeLorean Weekend. I remember I chit-chatted with you a little bit when we were having lunch at that restaurant at the museum thing. And we ended up talking more during the car show, and then you came and crashed with us at the house that some of us were renting on one of the nights.
Correct.
And then you were gone. You are not a long-time owner. You haven't had the car for 20 years, but you have also had it longer than a year or two, like a lot of people I've been talking to. How long have you had your car? What's your VIN number? And
I got it in 2013, so I've had it 4 years, and the VIN number is 6341.
So it is 6341, or it was 6341.
Yeah, well,
sorry.
That is a sad story.
Why don't we jump into that real quick, because now people are going to say, well, what does that mean? I'm sure that a lot of people have seen the pictures online. What happened a couple weeks ago?
Well, sadly, it's a very beautiful, very reliable car, as we'll go back to the beginning and talk in the beginning, met its demise, saving my life and my wife's life on August 5th this year when we were rear-ended on the freeway by an ambulance that was not in, the lights weren't flashing, it was just transporting an occupant from one state to the next. Wasn't paying attention when traffic slowed, just a high impact rear-end collision that temporarily paralyzed me as we went off into the median and then on into head-on traffic on the opposite side of the freeway. So she got mushed everywhere, front, back, side. The only thing that is not damaged on the body of the car is the passenger door.
I was amazed looking at the pictures that both of the gull wings were up. The car is totaled, destroyed, but both the doors are staying up by themselves. That was pretty shocking.
It was amazing to me too, because I have to admit, as a car owner and an auto accident specialist physician, every time riding in the car, I always thought, well, what if in an accident? Because I know John DeLorean was a big safety freak. That's why those doors weigh 90 pounds for a side impact collision. There's a lot of crumple zone in the front. But I always worried, what if you get an accident and the doors don't open? It should be hard to get out of these windows. So both doors opened great, and it was fantastic. Unfortunately, the driver's door no longer opens. I don't know if it got damaged in towing or what. But.
Oh, wow. Interesting. So to go back a little bit, you were driving in the fast lane?
Correct.
At, like, what speed? What was the... and I'm only digging in because I know I want to know, and I'm sure there's other people that want to know what the kind of the details are.
Well, in Utah, the speed limit's 80 miles an hour in most places, but we were on I-80, it's 65 because it's a canyon between Park City and Salt Lake City. So, everybody's going, and everybody speeds in Utah, so everybody's going 65 or 70, but traffic had slowed in my lane to, 25 or 30, and then smack, and then across and to head on traffic. It seemed like all traffic, it was pretty weird traffic patterns that morning, Saturday morning, a lot of heavy traffic and weird erratic drivers, so it seemed like everybody was kind of slowing down a little bit, so I don't think it was full speeds either direction, but it was still plenty fast enough. In a car accident, from a certified specialist perspective, it's just high speed and low speed collisions. That's how we break it down, and the cutoff's 10 miles an hour. So I know it was definitely over 10 miles an hour for all medical and scientific purposes of research and stuff, but I'm guessing it was in the 30. I was going about 25 or 30 and got hit about 60 or so, 60 or 70.
Oh, wow. Okay, so you were not stopped. You were still rolling.
Correct.
And the ambulance just rear-ended you at high speed. And
Correct.
And from looking at the pictures, at first I didn't. I saw a picture on Facebook of an ambulance off in the center. I thought that was an ambulance there to help you. I didn't realize the ambulance had hit you.
Nope, that's the one that hit us. And that's another factor to look at is, we've got a 27 to 2,900 pound vehicle, and those things weigh about 14,000 pounds. So that's
Right.
a lot of mass in motion.
Big. Yeah, especially, even if they'd been going the same speed as you, it would have done serious damage to the car. But it is amazing that you guys walked away. The whole front end of the car, I'm sure people will go look at the pictures if they haven't seen it by now, but the whole front end of the car is gone. And there's not a lot of pictures that got posted, but I didn't see the hood off in the background or the side. It's just the hood's gone, half the front is gone. You can see the tires and you can see the radiator. It was pretty nasty.
It was nasty. Whole front bumper's gone, hood shot off somewhere, I don't know where, and yeah, the car just demolished. But it did its job because it's supposed to crumple, and that's the beauty about having a front trunk for a front impact collision is it's a lot safer for us as the occupants in the vehicle for sure.
You don't end up with an engine in your lap.
Exactly. Exactly. The downside is it's the last car you want to be rear-ended in because you don't have a crush zone. You only have a 5-mile-an-hour bumper, your belts, your engine block, and then you. So all of the force is transmitted in a rear impact collision directly through the engine block, the frame, to the occupant. So unfortunately, rear impact collisions in those are not fun.
Interesting.
Yeah.
So it's at one point somebody had posted in one of the groups saying, "Did you have a third taillight? Did you ever install the triangle, the third red light up on the top of the louvers?"
I did not have that, but I did have the LED brighter taillights.
Got it.
Yeah.
It wouldn't have mattered. I don't think. I can't imagine that having one more light on there would have caught their attention.
I don't think it would have mattered in this because, as DeLorean drivers, there's a lot of erratic drivers around us anyway. Somebody's always in our blind spot trying to take sneak pictures, or somebody's, tailgating us trying to get a picture. And I even discussed that with some of my club members. Mentioned, well, was he trying to take a picture and tailgate? No, traffic had backed up. There were 5 cars in front of me. I'm in the low car, and I could see there were 5 cars slowed down in front of me. He's in a very high vehicle, so he clearly just wasn't paying attention because I got hit like 3 or 4 seconds after things had slowed down. So yeah, it was a little weird, but yeah. So that's unfortunately the demise of 6341. She was just such a good car with such a great history and just reliable. Even you and I have had a road trip together from Seattle back to Salt Lake. The vehicle was just a fun road trip machine.
Yeah.
And just so comfy and reliable.
That was yours. Is the only other car I've driven at any distance at all. Longer than a block or something. About what was it? Was it in March? Yeah, March, April.
Yeah.
I was up in Seattle and visiting friends, doing some work up there, and then one of us texted each other and was like, "Oh, are you in Seattle?" And it turned out that you had left your car up there with Toby Peterson at DMC Northwest to get some work done, and you were flying up to pick up the car and then drive it back to Salt Lake. I didn't have anything hard on my schedule, so I said, "Hey, do you have any family or anybody going back with you?" So we ended up doing the road trip back together, and sincerely, awesome, fantastic trip.
Yeah, it was a great trip.
Yeah, it was awesome. The car was fantastic and comfortable, and I got to drive your car for a lot of miles, and it was very different than my car. And then when you came out, the next time I had you drive my car for a much shorter distance, but drove and you said that it all felt good. So it's nice to be able to compare what DeLoreans feel like when you're driving, because you can pick any 2 Ford Focuses or any 2 mass production cars and drive them, and they're pretty much identical. But I don't know if that's true for every DeLorean.
I think the DeLoreans are like snowflakes, man. Every time I go to the car shows or the shops and I see these different, they all are just a little bit different, and I think that's the magic of it.
Yeah, that was a great trip, and I'm really sorry about your car. I'm sorry that you're not completely free of injury, but I'm glad that you're still here. I'm glad that it wasn't worse, especially since you got knocked into head-on traffic. Glad that you're recovering anyway.
Yeah, glad to be here because I honestly thought we were going to check out on that one. So thank you, John DeLorean, for making a very safe vehicle, and thank the heavens for because somebody was looking out on us for us because that was a really messy accident. But anyway, well,
Crazy.
let's get to the more positive stuff than this poor rest in
Yes.
peace 6341. Darn it. Oh, by the way, so those out there, if you see them out there, I'm looking for a replacement one that's a decent one for a decent price that I can try to fix up as nice as I had this one, because this one was in mint daily driver
Yeah.
condition.
Yeah. And you did a lot with that car. So let's go back to how long you've had the car, why you bought it, when you first wanted a DeLorean, kind of what's your origin story for the DeLorean side.
Well, I have always fixed up older cars. I've always liked cars about 30 years old because I don't like to lose money on cars. I like to see them appreciate. I like to enjoy the mileage on them. And so in the high school, I always fixed up 65 Mustangs and would drive to Seattle and back to visit family, and they were great road trip cars, and I love the purr of that V8 engine. And I remember, the movie, of course, is what sparked it when you're a kid for people our generation, because we couldn't
Right.
afford a car like that back then, but we saw the movie and it's like, oh, someday I'd love to have a car like that. And then we don't think about it for years and years because we're busy going to school and college and
Right.
life and family. And then, I don't know, a few years ago, I was watching the movie again with my kids, and in our garage we had these old 87 4Runners that I've been fixing up for years because I, again, like the older stuff. And I thought, hey, kids, we got a truck that we fixed up that's very much like Marty's truck, but it's a 4Runner instead of the truck, but it's the same body style. The front end all looks the same. Why don't we fix up a
Nice.
DeLorean? And my kids all freaked out. My wife's like, "Oh, brother, here we go again," because she doesn't really care for the old cars. She likes the newer stuff that's a little more reliable. And anyway,
How old were the kids at the time, and how many?
we got 4 kids, and at that time, my youngest was 12, 11, and my oldest was 17. Um,
And
so
they were into the idea.
yeah, they were liking the idea, and so then I started looking around and looking online, and the first thing I thought is, I've really liked this car from the movies, and I just love I didn't understand the whole history of the car, but as I've gotten into that, I've really leaned on. I just love the history and
Yeah.
the whole DeLorean story and the building the car overseas and just the whole thing. I just love the car history. I mean,
Yeah.
granted, I like the movie stuff, but just the car's fascinating, and that's the whole history of that. So I started looking around, going, well, can I even get parts for this thing? I mean, as I started realizing, oh my gosh, there's headquarters in Texas, and there's shops that work on just DeLoreans and stuff. I thought, wow, this will be a lot easier than I thought. So then I started looking for them, and I actually found one here in Utah, but the guy had shipped it off to Texas, had dumped some money into it, fixing it up, and then he let it sit for a couple of years in a field where and he just had to sell it now to leave state, and he wanted just way too much money for it. And as I've been looking around for 3 or 4 months, I met Jason Sharkey over the phone and over the internet, which I hope you interview him soon because he's got some fascinating tales to tell, where he's back in the Midwest, and I think at last count, he's bought, fixed, and made them a little more reliable, and flipped over 100 of these DeLoreans to suckers like
Wow.
myself who are looking for something. And what's nice about it is he finds them and he goes through them and makes sure the frame's all good, and he's got his checklist from the book and everything on what to find to make sure it's a good one. And then he fixes the stuff that we don't like that makes them not so good, like the LED lights so they don't drain the battery. He puts a good battery in it. He
Yeah.
changes the clutch line so that it's got not the plastic clutch line, but the steel braided one. He changes all the fuel lines because it's 30-year-old rubber. The last thing you want is to catch on fire by having some leak on it. So he
Yeah.
changes all those things. That little steering, what is it that's in the
Steering column
makes
bushing.
Yeah, and then drains the tank and cleans everything out, changes the fuel filter sender, and anyway, so you got a nice daily driver when you get one from him. So I ended up buying it from him, and it was awesome because I was right on the fence with one. He goes, I don't know if I'd get that one in Utah. You could, but it seems like it's a little overpriced for it's been sitting. I've got this one, and I looked at that one, and I just didn't quite feel ready to pull the trigger. And he sold that one, and I'm like, okay, now I can wait a couple more months to try to find another one. He called me the very next week. He goes, you're not going to believe this. I found this car over a year ago, and this is probably one of the nicest, just been sitting, but still in good shape and reliable cars I have ever seen in my time of doing this. You're going to really want this car. And I said, sold. So he got it. He was doing his stuff. My son and I, who just turned 16, flew out there to Minneapolis. Oh, that's not where it was. He's in Lebanon, which is just north of
Ohio?
Indianapolis. Indianapolis. So flew out to Indianapolis, went up to Lebanon, got the car. He had put all this stuff on it. He always does. But the one thing he did different for me, I paid him to put on the Stage 1 exhaust, which is awesome. Highly recommend that for DeLorean owners.
And what year was this?
So mine was it's a DeLorean 82, but it's a late 81, November of 81.
No, I mean, what year did you fly out to?
Oh, so this was 2013. So July 24th, 2013. Easy thing to remember because it was a state holiday in Utah, so it gave us a 3-day weekend, so we could go out there. So my son and I go out there, and it's just gorgeous. This is just a beautiful car, and what I love about Jason, he really takes being a DeLorean owner serious. It's not just like you're buying a car, you're buying a piece of history, you're buying a character in a movie that people are just drawn to. There's just a certain responsibility that goes with being a DeLorean owner to have this thing ready for the public rather than just have it be a rotting garage queen. And I loved that because he went through and taught us how to clean it, the right way to clean it with the grain and with the whole. I just really appreciate what he did.
Wow.
For us as a new owner. Anyway, so we fired up. My son and I start heading off into the sunset to drive it home. It had 2,750 original miles on it.
Wow.
6 different owners. I don't understand who doesn't drive a car like this for that long. And off we went. And we made it about 100 miles. And it's getting dark. And all of a sudden we start having some electrical problems. It's like cutting down, the gauges are going all wonky. I'm like, what is going on? And we pull over. And it just dies. Boom. All electrical gone. Dark. And the fireflies are coming out into the cornfields. And I'm like, oh my gosh, we just barely made it into Illinois. We're only like 100 miles from. So I call up Jason, and he's like, well, let me call the club president over in Illinois. We'll get you taken care of.
Wow.
So I call the tow truck, and all of a sudden I get this phone call from a guy I don't know, from Adam, and he's the club president in Illinois. He says, hey, what mile marker are you at? And I tell him. He goes, okay, we'll tell the tow truck company to bring you here to my place, and we'll get you back on the road. So the tow truck guy pulls up. It's like 11 o'clock at night. Thank goodness the highway patrol pulled over and had the lights going, because we were completely dark on the side of the road because we couldn't turn on flashes or anything because everything electrical is dead. It was really weird. 'Cause I'm like, it's not an alternator. It's not a best. Something is weird. And the tow truck guy puts us on the truck. He's like, oh, this is my best tow in 8 years, because he was all excited about towing the DeLorean. So he tows us. It's 11 o'clock at night, and we pull off the freeway in the middle of nowhere. I'm looking at Illinois going, what? There's nothing out here. It's just cornfields and stuff. And we turn the corner. There's a gas station, and then there's a little shack of like 5 garages attached to each other. And all of a sudden, the one door opens up, and he starts backing us there, and we can see a DeLorean under a cover, 2 sweet Italian motorcycles, and one of those hand-built Lotus Esprits. Like there's only 250 of them, or I don't know how many are. They're pretty sweet thing. We lower the thing off of there. He introduces himself as the club president. It says, here's the keys to my car, the Ford Taurus. He goes, why don't you and your son go into town? It's late at night. I'll take a look at the car, figure out what's going on, and we can go get the parts tomorrow morning and get you back on the road. Wow. I thought that was just unbelievable. So we drive into town, we get some sleep, come back in the morning. He's got it up on the lift. He goes, look, all your electric wiring harness that goes to your alternator was too close to your exhaust with this Stage 1, and it just melted your entire electrical system. So
there you go.
We just got to get this whole harness rewired and keep it away from the exhaust, and you'll be good to go. So I go into town, get the parts, 6 hours of rewiring and all this stuff. Boom! It starts up. It runs like a champ. He goes, welcome to the family. Didn't charge me a dime.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
So
welcome to the family.
Yeah, exactly. Somebody goes, man, that's awesome. I got to get something like this going out in Utah. We got to get, because I haven't seen any cars out in Utah other than the one that I put, test. Well, I didn't even get a test drive it. You don't get a test drive a DeLorean, I've learned. It's like, if you're going to buy one, you're committed. You just, when you buy it, you get to drive it.
Well, you don't have time. You don't really have time. If you don't say yes, somebody else comes right behind you and buys it.
Yep.
If it's the right price.
Right. That poor kid was trying to sell his. He ended up selling it to another guy who's in our club here for a fraction of what he was asking me for it. So it turned out to be a nice win with him.
It's timing.
But anyway, so we drove it all the way home, put 1,500 miles on it the first day we had it, and then slowly started doing the things to make it the way we wanted it, with all the other LED this and that, and upgrading the alternator so that we've got no power problems, and just getting all those things done to make it more reliable.
But you did that in South Jordan, Utah, Salt Lake City, Utah. There's no DMC out there. Did you do it all yourself? Did you find local mechanics?
We finally now, this year, the club, I found 9 running cars in the state now that we're pulling together for a club. We did get a mechanic here that's awesome, and he's really helpful, and he's gone with me to DMC California, and he's going to go up with me to DMC Seattle in October, so he's trying to get to know the gang to be helpful to get the cars go. Yeah, but back then, no, I just went to like Big O Tire. I trust the one that I'm close to. I'm really tight with those guys, and I was just an alternator. Sure, anybody can do that. Like you say, you've said it in other interviews. It's just a car.
Sure.
It's just got a couple of quirky things. I wouldn't let anybody touch my doors, adjust my doors, but DMC, I wouldn't. The electrical stuff, I'm not going to let anybody do that, but DMC. But anyway, the simple stuff like an alternator, those guys can do that, do the brakes and stuff. So that's the scoop. So most of it I just did here, simple stuff, or got it reliable enough that I could drive it. I love road trips, especially in the DeLorean, where I would drive it to LA, drop it off, go to my seminar for 3 days, come pick it up. It's like Christmas. I got all these new things on my car, drive it home. Same thing going to Seattle with Toby. That's the funnest part about the DeLorean for me, is those little road trips and the Christmas weekend, I call them, doing little things at DMC.
Yeah, so do they when you write the check.
Yeah, exactly.
How many times have you done the Salt Lake to Seattle and Salt Lake to LA trips?
Salt Lake to Seattle in the DeLorean 3 times, Salt Lake to LA 4 times.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, you put some miles on that car.
Yeah, I drive that thing, and it runs like a champ because I drive it, and cars love highway miles. So it's just, man, the thing just purred like a kitten, and man, it was just so good on those road trips. So yeah, I really enjoyed it.
It's not that Salt Lake is a middle of nowhere town, but it's not LA, it's not Seattle, it's not San Francisco. So you've got some mileage between some of the stuff you're doing.
Yeah, I mean, it's 1,000 miles every trip to LA. And it's 1,000 miles to Seattle, and it's 800 miles to LA from here.
Each way.
Yeah, each way. But the tough thing is, Salt Lake is a wasteland for DeLoreans. I mean, we're making it better, but we're building a little oasis here. But for as long as I've known, I mean, before I got my car and started the club and tried to get something going here, there was just nothing here. So that's how it was.
So that was 2014. You got your car. You've been working on it for many years. You finally, this year, right? You started, what's the official name of the club?
DeLorean Motor Club Utah on Facebook.
DMC Utah on Facebook. Okay, DeLorean Motor Club Utah on Facebook. Awesome. And you said you found 7 other cars?
We've got, I found 9, now back down to 8, unfortunately, that are running in the state. Yeah. There's a few other ones that are not running, and there's a few people that are, perusing with the club because they're trying to find a car and get going with it.
Right.
Get a car. Yeah.
And you're saying in the state, but really, you don't really mean in the whole state. You mean in your region, right?
Well, I know of one down in Cedar City, which is 4 hours south of me here. Yeah, I'm talking the whole state. That's what I know that are running.
Wow.
I've heard of a couple that are just sitting there next to a barn or something like that. We're trying to, get people to sell them so we can actually get them back on the road.
Right. Yeah. So if anybody's listening, if you know anybody in Utah that has a DeLorean, go to Facebook, look up DeLorean Motor Club Utah, and let Jay know that you exist or that a car is out there. Or go, I don't know if you've looked at the DeLorean census on DeLoreanDirectory.com. There might be some Utah cars listed there that you aren't aware of, or maybe people can go enter cars if they're not listed already.
Yeah, we need to get them on there. We need to get to meet each other and help each other fix up our cars. So now we've got a shop where we can do tech sessions, and I want to fly in Jason or fly in Toby or fly in Danny, like once a year, kind of rotate who we have come in. So it's kind of like celebrity status where, boom, we've got a shop with lifts. We just get together. We have some pizza and cookies. I'm kind of a health freak, maybe some vegetables. and we fix up our cars together a little bit with the lighter stuff. For me, and I know everybody's got their different perspective, but I really appreciate DMC and the huge investment that they've taken for us. Now, granted, for me, it's far to get to them, but I want to get cars running enough that we can get them to them and help support those guys so we still have that support center for years to come.
Right.
To take care of our cars. Granted, there's stuff we can do that's piddly stuff here locally on our cars, but let's support those guys too. And anyway, I want to bring them out so I've got local support where they come out and get to know some of the owners that maybe have had cars for years and never utilized DMC.
That'd be great if DMC would send somebody from each one of the shops, in different parts of the country out to the local clubs to get the clubs knowing that they exist and they're there, and kind of build that relationship. Because right now it's really a one direction thing. Everybody just goes to them. They don't really reach out. As far as I'm aware, they don't reach out to the clubs.
Yeah.
So that'd be a good thing to do.
Well, we're trying to get the few club members we have to do club dues and fundraisers. Like we've got the fundraiser with the little armrest pad that we're doing to try to raise money to bring people to our wasteland. Since it is a long ways, to fly these guys out. It's not easy, but it's cheaper than all of us trying to get to a shop in California or Seattle or Chicago. So anyways, that's what we're working on.
Nice.
And we've got a really fun thing next year we're doing. We're going to do a tour of Utah, a DeLorean tour of Utah. There might be some other fancy cars and stuff that end up falling into this over the course of the year, but it's headed by DeLoreans. We're going to go to Moab. We've got a place to stay there for a couple nights where then we can go to Arches National Park and Dead Horse Point, and then we're going to go down to Bryce National Park and then Zion's. So it's going to be a nice, fun tour for those that can handle taking 4 days or a week off of work. I think the biggest one will be if people can just get to Moab. We've got 3 days there, so what a fun rendezvous. It's a cute little town. It's a Hollywood backlot for a lot of movies, so
with a support vehicle there for.
Yes, we will have a support vehicle on that trip, so it's gonna be awesome.
Nice. And is that like a 2 or 3 days?
Well, so we'll start up here in Salt Lake City, but people can come from Wyoming or Colorado or LA or whatever and meet instead of coming all the way up to Seattle, they can just go over to Moab. We'll post what cities or parks will be in on what days, so maybe they just want to come up to go to Zion's and go back home. So it's not such a big trip. So we'll have options like that. But
nice.
But anyway.
What do you have dates set for that already?
It's in June. It's going to be on the Facebook page for the club. June of 2018.
June 2018, okay.
Yeah.
Cool. So people need to check that out. Do you have an event? Do you have a Facebook event created for it yet?
No.
Okay.
I still gotta finalize some stuff. We're still nailing down some hotel rooms and stuff for us to stay at.
Well, and anytime I find clubs around the country or around the world that create events on their Facebook page, I add those to the DeLorean Directory Facebook page.
Cool.
So that, it's kind of not that it's a central place, but that way people kind of get an idea of what's going on around the world in the other clubs. So I try to monitor all the different clubs and all the events and add them so there's a one calendar everybody can go look at, and then it just sends them off to those Facebook pages. It's not, I don't want to create events for each one of them. I just want to reshare the ones that they create.
Cool.
So if anybody is listening and your club has an event, make sure they create a Facebook event and then send an email to comments@DeLoreanDirectory.com or comments@DeLoreanTalk.com, and we'll kind of reshare it. Because you never know. I mean, the fact that you, Jay, were, go to Seattle and LA, if there's things going on, you might end up going to those. In fact, when I went to Seattle in March, I went up there for work stuff and to visit friends and forgot that it was middle of March. And the Pacific Northwest DeLorean Club had they were in the annual St. Patrick's Day Parade.
Yeah.
I got that week when I was there, I got the email from the club because I'm a member of the PNDC as well. That's one of the best $20 anybody could ever spend. They have great newsletters and just a great, collection of people. When I lived there in the 90s, I was a member, even though I didn't have a car. So I called the old president and said, hey, could I get a ride? And he was like, I'll find you a ride. I ended up riding in the parade with him. It was fantastic. There was 9 DeLoreans in the parade and 8 for the car show afterwards at the Space Needle.
Nice.
Really fantastic experience. I just happened to be up there. So people travel, and you never know when there's going to be some DeLorean event in the area that you're traveling to. So be sure to check out the DeLorean Directory Facebook page as well.
Yeah, right on.
This wasn't your daily driver, right?
It was my daily driver in the summer. For 3 years, and then this year I got a different car, so I didn't drive it as much this summer, unfortunately. Sure. But it's my favorite road trip car, hands down. I think it's honestly, as an adult, I would say this has been my best purchase in my adult life because it created so many great memories, and I with all my kids, I got 4 kids and a wife. It's a one-on-one vehicle. So I had, father-son trips, father-daughter trips, husband and wife getaway weekends, and it just created such a fun ambiance to go and adventure with one family member at a time.
Very cool.
The memories are
Very
awesome.
cool. Well, and then I'm really happy that you are going to get another one, because I could see that some people might say, hey, that wasn't a good experience, the accident, and I've had my fill.
Mm-hmm.
That's, I hope that you do find another one and get back into it. And as I've said, I got to know you over the last year, and you've done a lot of stuff with that car. Other than just driving it. I mean, you've done stuff in Utah, put together shows, and you've done a bunch of stuff even without a DeLorean club in the area.
Yeah, when we were still trying to get it off the ground, didn't really have a club yet. Funny story is that 2015 was the big Back to the Future 30-year anniversary thing, which really made things go crazy. So we put together a party over at the movie theater, and I tried to get, that was kind of one of the first things to try to gel some of the owners, and we had 5 cars show up, which was awesome.
Nice.
So then it was kind of moving us towards becoming a club. And I took pictures to advertise it, because I used it as the car as my business mascot, so to speak.
Sure.
Yeah, because being a chiropractic physician, I want to help people be healthy for their future. So I've got my book, which good old 6341 she's the model with me on the cover of the Future Health, Aging Gracefully 100 Years and Beyond, which, by the way, is going to have a big sale thing. The digital version's going big this Thursday or Wednesday the 29th. We're trying to go as an Amazon bestseller on Wednesday. So
nice.
99 cents, check it out. But she's on the cover of that, and we took a bunch of pictures at the movie theater to promote this event we were doing. And interestingly enough, a gentleman reached out to me, which some of you guys met at the car show, Stephen Arlington, where his book is In DeLorean Shadow, the drug trial of the century. You guys, do you remember that one? Did you ever hear from him at the car show?
I remember seeing the sign out front. I just didn't go to that one.
Fascinating history and story with this gentleman. I mean, he's just a really interesting guy, being an old frogman that used to dismantle bombs in the Navy, and then just how his life took a turn, and the next thing you know, he's getting busted for smuggling drugs, and those are the drugs that were taken from his car that were used to entrap John DeLorean.
Wow.
And he was in jail with John DeLorean that night that John DeLorean was in jail when...
Okay, I did not put all that. I've not heard that. I've not put that together before. Wow.
So both of these books, Future Health and In DeLorean Shadow, are both available on Amazon. Recommend check it out. But he reached out to me out of the blue. I didn't know him from Adam back then. A couple years ago, he goes, "Hey, I see this picture of your car in front of the movie theater, and I'd like to have my guy cut the background out of it and use it on the cover of my book." So 6341 is on the cover of 2 books that I'm holding in front of me right now. In DeLorean Shadow by Stephen Arlington and Future Health by me. So
nice.
That's kind of fun little history.
Holy cow.
Yeah. So she's a star.
That's awesome. So you had mentioned that you put together kind of an event at the movie theater for Back to the Future Day, October 21st, 2015. I'm in LA. I really want to try to find a local movie theater to put something together for March 30th, 2018, which is the Ready Player One movie release. Most people our age and younger have seen the trailers for the movie Ready Player One, which is a really big sci-fi book. And I think it'd be really fun to get movie theaters around the country. But I'm trying to just do it locally, trying to get a theater manager that says, yeah, bring a couple of DeLoreans and we'll park them in front on opening night of the movie. And I know people will go crazy because that is going to be a huge geek movie. Every geek out there.
What is that one? I don't know that one. What's it called again?
It's called Ready Player One. It's a sci-fi kind of a book, but it's, and I have not read it yet, but my gosh, I'm in the software industry. Everybody I know has read it, talks about it. And it features the DeLorean quite a bit, I guess, in the book. If you go watch the trailer, the DeLorean time machine is in it a bunch. It just looks like a lot of fun. It's a very 80s book, apparently. It's about a future kind of dystopia where people disappear into video games to escape from real life. And the book is really all about the 80s. So Back to the Future, the DeLorean, a lot of the old cartoons and movies make a lot of appearances in there. So it could be a lot of fun to get movie theaters to do a similar thing as what you set up for Back to the Future Day. So go watch the trailer when we get done here.
Yeah, when we're done here, I'll do that. Cool.
The DeLorean. Gull-wing doors rise effortlessly, beckoning you inside. The sleek, stainless steel DeLorean. beautifully crafted for long life. The DeLorean is one of the most awaited automobiles in automotive history. Drive the DeLorean. Live the dream today.
I enjoy listening to the stories of what makes the cars magic for them, or what their good or bad experiences are.
Mm-hmm.
You've had some good experiences. Is there anything in particular? Do you remember the first time you pulled the car into town, your first experience with quote unquote the public, when it was your car?
Yeah, I mean, just going to the gas station. I mean, you just make friends every time you go and get gas. And I like that the best because, you know, they've got you as a captive audience. So you're putting gas in your car, and you can't just walk away from it with a DeLorean. You got to stand there and do it so you don't make a mess in your trunk. And so they come up, and I love that because it's safe. It's the ones on the road that really make you kind of nervous. The ones that are buzzing around on the freeway and being erratic. But it's just I don't want to sound like an egomaniac, but I really like the attention. I mean, I know some people have gotten rid of their car because they get sick of the attention. I guess we all get tired of it at some point. But for the most part, I mean, you know, they say in high school, like, you can't buy friends or whatever. It's like, I disagree. You buy a DeLorean, you've got more friends than you can handle.
The last interview was with Justin Webb, and he said something similar. And I know you a little bit. I don't think that it's that you like the attention. It's that you like sharing the car. I'm not trying to force that narrative, but
I think that's exactly right.
You're not a movie star. I don't think that you are, have that stuck-up personality that you want the attention. The DeLorean is really the attention getter, and it's fun to share it and make people happy.
It is fun to share. Matter of fact, that's my exact perspective. I'm just going to pull up a quick Facebook thing that I posted when we were down in California, and I think it really sums it up pretty nice. Let me see if I can find this really quick and just read it to you. It'd be a lot easier if I can do that. But just as a DeLorean owner, I feel like I've bought an obligation not to let this thing rot in a garage, but the public deserves this. There's so few of them, and they're so magical to people, and people are so emotionally attached to these cars, myself included, that I just think, I think we owe it to the public to take care of them and have them out there once in a while. I mean, granted, we got to protect them so people don't just jump in and out of them, to take pictures, that they're respectful. But that's...
Speaking of that, I still think back, and I've mentioned it before, is on Back to the Future Day, October 21st, I was at Puente Hills Mall, which was Lone Pine Mall in the movie, and there was a time machine. There was a whole bunch of DeLoreans there. I had not bought my car yet, so I did not know anybody, literally did not know anybody in the community. I was by myself, walking around, taking pictures, enjoying what was going on, and I knew they were going to be doing a recreation that night. They were going to be playing the movie in the parking lot and then doing a recreation of the terrorists chasing the time machine around the parking lot. So I was hanging out to see that night, and while I'm walking around and just chit-chatting with people here and there was a time machine that had the door open and a line of people getting in and taking pictures. And even though I wasn't an owner, I felt like this is wrong. And I'm looking around. There was nobody around that I could tell watching the car. It was just people taking their turns getting into the car. I'm only slightly embarrassed to say that I did the same thing. I stood in line and got in the car, asked the last person to take a picture with my camera, and I got that picture. But I have no idea whose car that is. I'm sure now I can go back and pull the picture up and find the person who owns that car, because I'm sure that those owners, the time machine owners, can tell which car is theirs versus somebody else's. So that'd be kind of fun to do. But I'm with you. I love when I'm at a gas station or driving the car someplace else. When people come up, I almost make them get in and take a picture. I'm like, it took me 20 years or 15 years to get pictures in one of these cars. How often are you going to get the chance? So get in, give me your phone, get a picture. So it's really fun to get people to do.
Bless your guys' hearts for that, because I have to stand there and train people. Okay, sit here. I don't know what we call that little black part, the rail, the foot rail.
Just the
part.
edge. Yeah.
The edge. I just have them sit there. I don't want them to sit on the chairs because it's such a low vehicle. Unfortunately, I had to redo my seats because my wife had those blingy bottom pants, and she'd sit down and twist to put her feet in and get back out, and just shredded the seat. So to have a bunch of heavy traffic at some place doing that, I'm like, no, please just sit here. Don't sit in the actual seat itself. And I think it takes a better picture anyway.
Yeah,
but
with the shadow.
That's just me.
Every time there's an event or a show or something and I'm with other DeLorean owners, most of them do that. They're like, no, just sit on the door sill. and they say the same thing you did. Oh, it's a better picture. You don't have the shadow, of the door, and you still get to say you're in the car. So I've been working towards that a little bit, but I still, for kids, I always have the kids get in, and I love having the kids get in the car. That's very cool.
Yeah, that is really cool for the kids. I mean, what a great memory for them. That's awesome. All right, so here's my little thing that I wrote up.
So this is you're reading this off your personal Facebook page?
No, this is off the DeLorean Motor Club Utah Facebook page that I posted July 16th when I took our mechanic Craig here from Salt Lake down to DMC to meet Danny and the gang down there, so that they would know each other when he's trying to communicate with them about helping to fix up our cars in Utah to get them more reliable, to get them to Utah or Seattle for further work.
Right.
So being a DeLorean owner, if you take it seriously, has a different level of responsibility than other classic cars. You've bought into a stewardship, a huge piece of history, both DMC and BTTF. You have a stewardship of a vehicle that is a movie star. The public is so emotionally attached to this car. You yourself have to be prepared for the questions and the attention from the public. Personally, I feel obligated to take care of my car and share it with the world. So why do I think this? People's faces light up every time I take it someplace. You can't help but get the questions and make friends every time you stop for gas or run to the store. So owners everywhere, take care of your car. Don't let them be garage queens. Share the love with others in your community so they can feel what John DeLorean meant when he said, live the dream.
Awesome. Well put.
Thanks. So yeah, I think it's a cool stewardship to have a DeLorean. That's for sure. I think.
Yeah.
Man, it's.
I've always
awesome.
been a Tucker fan, and I can't remember how many. There's only double digits of those out there, and I think I've seen a Tucker in a museum once, but never driving. And but most people don't know what that car is, because even though there was a movie, most people didn't see the movie. It wasn't a cult classic.
Yeah.
But yeah, the DeLorean, it has that look. We all know that, and it's fun. So yeah, I've been saying, it's not like I came up with it, but the next generation of owners, us, it's a different world than the first generation of owners who bought the car when it first came out, or during the cold 90s, when the cars didn't really have any support and there was nobody out there.
Yeah.
Now, I think these cars are going to get fixed up and taken care of in a different level, and hopefully people won't do exactly what you're saying is, well, I don't want to sell it, I don't want to get rid of it, but I don't have the money to fix it, so I'm just going to leave it in the garage, and then 15 years go by and the car is, destroyed again. So hopefully we can keep people recycling them.
Those stories just break my heart. Matter of fact, literally 2 blocks from my house, I go into FedEx to ship stuff every once in a while. And the guy's like, "Oh yeah, my brother's got a DeLorean. It's been sitting in his garage for 15 years, just on blocks, and he won't ever do anything with it." I'm like, why can't you get him to sell it to somebody that actually love the thing and take care of it? I don't know. He says he'll never sell it, and he'll never fix it up. That is just, what a shame.
Well,
It's
is
almost
it in
criminal.
Utah? I mean, you're looking for a car. Maybe that's the one.
Well, but he won't sell it, and he won't fix it up. So it just sits there and rots. He just wants to have that thing of, oh yeah, I own a DeLorean. What, you own a
Right.
chunk on blocks, man.
Yeah, that's a good point. And there is that some cachet that people can just say, oh, I own a DeLorean, even though they're not driving it, but they can still say they have one.
Yeah. The first year I got it, even I drove it up to Spokane to meet up with the Northwestern Club for the Lilac Festival.
Yeah, the Lilac
Parade,
Parade at night.
Yeah, which is a night one. And it was really cool because we had 12 cars there, and we had spent all day detailing them and doing a tech session and then putting on little glowy lights for those of us that didn't all have them on our cars at the time. And
Right.
it was just a really fun experience. And man, that was magical. And then driving home from that, I drove all the way up there, no cruise control. We stayed the night. We did that thing. Stayed the night, drove all the way home, and I got pulled over coming back in Idaho, and he says I was doing 86, but I don't know. My speedometer doesn't go that high. And it looked to me like I was doing 80, 82, but it was so funny because he comes up and we open the door on the passenger side, and he, he's talking to me over my son's lap and giving the paperwork, and he starts walking back. He doesn't get like 10 steps. I just see him stop in his tracks. He's looking down at the paperwork, just shakes his head, comes back. He goes, just try to keep it down under 80. And let us go. I'm like, oh, thanks, man.
Nice. Oh, that's awesome.
I'm like, yeah. Tell him the sensor, yeah, we don't have cruise control. I've been driving. We just 12 hours driving it up there. We went to the parade. We're just driving home. I just been driving a lot without. Sorry, I was just trying to pace with traffic. And anyway, he was nice enough to let us off. Bless his heart.
I'm not a speed demon, but it's so easy to start speeding in the car.
Yeah.
At least here in LA. Like, I don't even realize it, and all of a sudden I'm like, why is everybody going so slow? And then I look, I'm like, oh, I'm doing 80. Like, jeez.
Yeah.
Now, granted, in LA, that's fairly normal. I mean, 70 is a pretty normal, 75 is a normal speed. But something about, the car is low enough and you get going, and it feels good.
It's a touring car. That's what's so awesome about the DeLorean.
Yeah.
And in Utah, back when it was made and it was only 55 mile an hour speed limits, in Utah it's 80 miles an hour most of the place now. So everybody's going 80, 82. I mean, they're really strict though if you go over 82.
Yeah.
But 80 miles an hour, that is that sweet spot for a 5-speed DeLorean, because I get I get my best gas mileage. It's 2,900 RPMs, 82 miles an hour, 26 miles to the gallon. It's just awesome.
26.
Yeah.
My gosh. And that was with the Stage 1.
That's with the Stage 1, which I think gives it 30 more horsepower, a totally good sound, and I think for the freeway it helps with the gas mileage a little bit. At least that's what I noticed.
There's a couple owners in this area that talk about the Texas open house, the DMC Texas open house from a couple of years ago. And I can't remember if he said 26 or 29 miles per gallon. And I keep saying, I don't believe that. I mean, personally, I have a really hard time believing that in this car, especially with two people loaded with luggage. But, he did the math, so it must be right. And now here you're saying 26.
Yeah. I mean,
that's amazing.
And there's some ups and down hills in Utah, but then if I'm driving south to LA, I get much better gas mileage because I'm going from 5,000 feet down to sea level. So just over the course of that distance, I get better gas mileage going that way than this way.
Sure.
But it's only a couple miles difference. I'll get like 23, 24 coming home and 26 going down there. So
boy, I don't think I've ever gotten over 20, and I keep track of every receipt and every mileage, and 18 to 20 is my norm. And I'm not trying to spin the tires. I'm not driving crazy aggressive. Trying to go at 4,000 or 5,000 RPMs.
Mm-hmm.
Interesting. In Utah, they have 87, 89, and 91 octane.
Yeah.
Do you always put in 91?
I always run 91. I always run the high octane fuel in any car that's a turbo or any older car. I always run the higher octane stuff, and it just gets rid of the pinging, and just I seem to get better gas mileage, and just seems to
I
work
asked DMC and was told very clearly that 87 is what goes in the engine, and I have a stock PRV, and I did that religiously until maybe 6 months ago, and DMC said, every 3 or 4 tanks you can put in 91 to clean it out. But when I do put in 91, I do see better gas mileage, and when I hit the gas, there is no knocking, pinging, there's no noise.
Right.
I mean, it actually sounds and feels good. So I'm like, that it, and I feel like there's more power. I feel like it's not sluggish. So
I
I've
agree
been
100%.
I've been doing all 91 as well, and I ask a lot of people, and a lot of people seem to put in 91, but I'm always curious what people are doing.
I'm a big fan of the higher octane, especially because road trips where I'm changing elevations, it's just easier for an older car that doesn't have computers to control the adapting for the airflow and stuff as much. And I just always noticed more horsepower, no pinging. I mean, as soon as I put the smaller octane, the lower octane gas into it, I'll notice pinging right away. I'm like, forget that, I'm not doing that.
Yeah.
And then it works better for my elevation. So that's it. I like it.
Okay, so last question that I ask everybody, because I was really guilty. Again, so sorry and sad about your car, but one of the things I noticed in one of those pictures is that your trunk was empty. Now, your hood was also gone and the front end of the car was gone, but normally, daily driver, what was in the trunk of your car?
I usually have a little plastic container full of cleaning supplies. I had a set of tools so that if something happens where I break down the side of the road, at least I got some tools, but it's a nice little zipper pouch thing, which now that you mention that, I wonder where that is because I haven't seen it since then. And then just a towel for drying off the car when I got to go to the car wash. Everything was just completely all exploded all over the road. Matter of fact, when I got out of the car, the aerosol tire, wet tire thing was like spraying in circles. And
oh wow! Wow.
Yeah.
You touched on that. So do you take the car to the drive-through car washes or a hand wash?
Yeah, I'll take it to the drive-thru and I just spray it with soap, hot soapy water. Spray it with
Okay.
hot
So you
rinse water, and then I just hand dry it with the grain.
got it. So you actually take it to the self high pressure washer, not the drive-through car wash.
Correct. Nah, you can't take those things through a drive-through car. At least I wouldn't want to take mine through a drive-through car wash.
Don Steger takes his through all the time, and I've done it several
Really?
times as well. Yeah, he says the brushes go the right direction.
That's true. Yeah,
Interesting.
I couldn't do it. There's no way I could do it.
All right. Well, thank you so much for your time. Pleasure talking to you and getting your story. And I'm sure that people out there are going to go look at the pictures of your car. I'm looking forward to when you do find another car. We'll have to do another follow-up and maybe just tack it on to another episode or something to find out the story on that and what your plans are. And we'll remind everybody, if you're in Utah or in the Salt Lake area and you have a DeLorean or you know somebody that does, make sure to go find the DeLorean Motor Club Utah on Facebook and send a message, like the page, get a hold of Jay.
Mm-hmm.
And going forward, I look forward to hearing from more of you who want to join me on this and share your story about the car, share your fun stories or your scary stories as you've been to car shows or taking it across the country. And I appreciate everybody's comments and messages online and on social media.
Yeah, let's stay tight. We're a family. Let's stay tight. I'm just going to throw out one more thing, Dave, if that's okay.
Yeah.
If there's some of the surrounding areas like Wyoming, I don't know if or where there's cars up there, or Colorado, if you guys want to come and have a tech session in Utah or come get to know some of us here, come on out. We've got a place for people to stay, and let's just grow our family in these neighboring states. I mean, I want us all to be a big family, but we've got this little vacuum here in the middle part of the western states that we need to fill that void. And so let's get to know each other.
Thanks for that offer. All right, so everybody spread the word. All right, Jay, thanks again. And everybody stay tuned, and we'll talk to you next time.